Hello to everybody who's putting together the puzzle pieces your childhood handed you. It's Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour, one phone call, no names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hi, everybody. If you don't love an intro, I get it. It's the 10-year anniversary of the show today, so this one is a little long. I think if you skip about 10 to 12, maybe 13 minutes, you'll be towards the end of the beginning of the call, rather. Sorry that I don't have it down to an exact science on this one, but I think that'll put you about towards the beginning of the call. Thanks so much. Hi, everybody. Chris Gethard here, and welcome to another episode of Beautiful Anonymous, the show where we look at the human condition, one anonymous phone call at a time. And guess what, everybody? This is the 10-year anniversary. Andrea has flagged it. We've been talking. This is our 10. We've been celebrating the 10-year anniversary since January, since the clock turned on 2026. But Andrea has flagged this is the week that marks the 10-year anniversary since the release of Ron Paul's Baby. And as soon as Beautiful Anonymous dropped, I was aware that my life had changed. As soon as it hit on This American Life, really even before that though, when it came out, I felt very excited, felt very much like we were onto something good. When This American Life said they wanted to feature the first episode, I said, well, this is a game changer. And then I could feel it in the weeks and months after that so many things had changed. And I was already 16 years into being an artist in New York City when we launched this show. It's now 26 years into being an artist. And I can say I've had some ups, I've had some downs, I've had some other things that were successes. I've never had something where it came out and then boom, I had a thing happen that lasted 10 years. That's miraculous as an artist. I don't say that lightly. It's an actual miracle to me. Thank you all for making it happen. I remember the year the show was released, such specific memories. I so distinctly once remember walking from the office of my TV studio to a taping. I was walking up to 8th Avenue where we used to tape with Earwolf back then. And someone stopped and looked at me, and she had this look of shock on her face. And she took out her headphones. I said, "Are you okay?" She said, "I'm listening to you right now, listening to the phone call." I said, "Oh, something's really happening. Something's really happening here." And for years, so many of you were there alongside me. Hundreds of thousands of people listening. Now we're down to the tens of thousands. But I'll tell you what, 10 years in, a lot of shows crap out completely before this. And we still have something that's going so strong that feels vital, both in the sense of the quality of the calls that I still think they are very good, and the fact that the community still feels like this chill, loving community that surrounds the idea that anonymous conversations, being a fly on the wall, hearing about other people's perspectives is a valuable thing. And I've always felt a little ahead of the curve with my artistic projects. And this one, I almost feel like in year 10, as things feel more divided, we're a show that invites people to come together, hear each other out. As people are feeling more lonely, we offer a chance to, via your headphones, listen to someone else in a way that makes you feel slightly connected to someone else. And the show itself, the whole premise is that if you keep calling, that someday you'll get to be on the show, get to put your story on display, get to be heard, get to feel seen. These are all things that I think are actually, in many ways, more vital than they were 10 years ago. So thanks for sticking with us, man and woman, and people who identify beyond the average binary that man and woman denotes. So sincerely, everyone out there, thank you for sticking with us. Sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. What can you do to help Beautiful Anonymous survive 10 more years? Listen, we're slugging it out. We're now living in a world where A-list celebrities get Grammys for podcasts. And Amy Poehler's been a mentor to me over the years. I'm not trying to call out Amy, but we're just clearly living in a different world. Conan O'Brien, Amy Poehler, these A-list stars all have podcasts now. Not the guy who is in the one episode of Parks and Recreation. I used to be a star in this world. Now the stars are the stars in this world. So keep subscribing. Tell your friends. Sign up for the extra stuff at beautifulanonymous.com. It's $5 a month or $10 a month. And I know that not everybody has that, but for those of you that do, just keep in mind that as we head towards, I think we have about 1.5 years left on our contract, maybe 2 years. And the way to deal with numbers getting smaller as the oxygen gets sucked up by the corporate-backed podcasts and the celebrity-driven podcasts, a fan base that feels locked in, dedicated, mobilized, where I have your contact info, where you're giving a couple bucks a month. It's not even necessarily about the couple bucks a month as a vacuum sucking up money into the ability to make the show. It's a representation of the solidity of the idea moving forward. I think every medium to small sized show in the next few years is going to be circling the wagons with their existing fan base and seeing if you can get by. So I have no illusions that this show is going to ever have numbers like it had back in 2016 when there were 500,000 people listening to it. Those days are done. But for those of you who are still here, man, do I feel proud of it. Man, do I still laugh every week. Man, do I still have my heart broken. Do I have my eyes open. Do I have conversations that make me go out into the world with my head up and my eyes on others. I don't want to pat myself on the back very hard, but there's little things that happen. Like, I don't think I ever would have volunteered to drive an ambulance for a small town ambulance squad if not for Beautiful Anonymous. It felt like another way to try to connect with people, to try to recognize the value of community. I don't think I'm the type of person that does that without this show. Just the other night, my son Cal was at a track practice. And I mean, there's like 200 plus kids signed up for this track program. My son is 6. There's kids of all age groups just sprinting and screaming in all directions. And there's like 5 coaches, 200 something kids. I don't even know how they could possibly have that many kids in it. And I watched this kid bump into his friend. And they got tangled out, and the little guy went down on the asphalt. And I was the first one to go and see if he was okay. And I'm not saying the other parents who didn't know the kid, none of us knew the kid. I'm not saying anyone does anything wrong by hanging back and going, where's that kid's parent? But I'm somebody who's willing to sit down and say, hey, let me see it. Okay, it's not that bad. I think you might be freaking out. It's really just a scratch. Honestly, I thought it was going to be worse than that, man. I think you got a little lucky because based on how hard you fell, I thought it was going to be bleeding a lot harder. It's just a little scratch, though. You got lucky on this one. And hey, I think you ran cross country with my son last time. You were always the first place kid from this team. Your scores kept getting better every time. And he looked up. You noticed that? Yeah, I did. I know you. I know who you are. How'd you do that? How'd you keep getting better each time? And I just realized I found a thing to talk about with this little kid who was scared in the moment and having a scratch. I'm a naturally introverted person. I'm pretty shy. What is it that makes me the type of person that can be the first one to go, I can start talking to this kid to get him to calm down? It's 10 years of these conversations. It's 10 years of conversations where some of you tell me how you like to dress up as pirates on the weekend. Some of you tell me what it's like to lose a child. Some of you tell me what it's like to be a grandma at a very young age. Some of you are literally 100 years old. You come from every corner of background, of human thought, of shifting, growing worldviews. What a lucky gig. What a beautiful thing. 10 years of getting to be the captain of a ship that I am well aware has made me a better listener, more compassionate human, a more empathetic person. A show that is an hour of conversation featuring me every week that has taught me in the most profound way that life is better when you listen more than you talk. I could go on forever about how much this show has meant to me. And I'm sitting here in an office right now with some of the stuff on the wall behind me is fan art that some of you have made and sent in relation to this show. I'm looking at bins of T-shirts that exist because you all show up at the live shows and want something, oftentimes saying, I don't think I'm going to wear it. It's just a nice way to support. What a cool, beautiful thing we have all built together. And thank all of you for sticking with me in the early days as I learned to stop trying to force the funny and realized that this one actually had the potential to help me grow. Sincerely. And that brings us to this week's call, which I couldn't be more excited to bring you. Full disclosure, we have started getting a few in the queue, not our usual style. We had a different one slated for today, and then this one came in, and it felt so perfect for the actual 10-year anniversary call. I have to tell you, there's a certain feeling that from the very early days of the show, this feeling of pure surprise that brought with it an adrenaline boost for me, and I'm certain for a lot of you listeners. And I think for a lot of the people who have been here from day one or year one, really early, you remember the, oh my goodness, what's happening feeling, as we all as a community started to realize this was a forum for stories that could be pretty shocking. I do think you learn how to handle the shocking calls. You learn how to say, okay, the bar has been set and this type of thing comes in, and that feeling of, wait, what are you talking about? It's easier to mitigate, and it makes me a better host to be able to mitigate it, but you do lose some of that dopamine kick, right? This one has that in a big way, everybody. Needs to be a little bit of a warning here that there's descriptions of childhood stuff here where, I mean, the caller will say, just to spoil it, like situations where Child Protective Services was called, where there's neglect or abuse happening. It doesn't get so detailed about it, but if you're very sensitive to those things, just keep in mind that there is discussion of them. This week's caller, I don't want to say too much. I've been working really hard in the intros to make sure that I try to spoil less. I will say this caller starts describing her childhood, and at first you're like, oh, wow, this is crazy, ha, ha, ha. And then the more detailed it gets, the more you realize it's actually, it's not crazy in a ha, ha, ha way. It's an instability way. It's a, man, you had to deal with a lot way. It's a, man, I can't believe this took another twist and turn. How many gut punches did you get handed via the infrastructure of your life, starting from literally the moment you were born? And I can also say, too, I think you're going to hear there's some protective dad vibes that come up by the end of this call. And I am a dad now, and that's a big difference than who I was 10 years ago. And I could say one thing that I have learned as a dad, and everybody who as a kid learns this, is, man, there's a lot of freedom to fail when you're raising a kid. And there's a lot of ways in which every parent messes up. I don't care. The best parents on earth are out there messing up. But you learn so quickly, if you can give a kid stability and predictability, just as little human animals, that's what kids want. They want predictability. They want stability. They want some boundaries. They want to know where the parameters of life are. And you are going to hear from a caller in a call that starts funny and that keeps taking twists and turns, where I bet so many of you will go on the same emotional journey I did. We're going to realize this caller didn't have that. And not only is it sort of miraculous to hear about and a thrill ride of a story with so many twists and turns that I think you won't see coming, but it's also a story of survival and victory. And man, what an inspiring caller. 10-year anniversary of the show, and in a way that reminds me so much of episode 1. Never knew where this one was going, and I walk away feeling like this show has quietly, in many ways, it's out here to chronicle stories. It's out here to be impartial. I'm observing. I'm taking in what comes in. But I do think there has been a very running theme of being very proud to remind people, hey, your ability to stand up, dust yourself off, and keep throwing punches in life will serve you well. Please keep going. And this one has that. Thanks for the 10 years, everybody. If you want more with this caller and every caller, beautifulanonymous.com is the place to do it and support the show in the process. Now enjoy one hell of a phone call.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
It's good. Everything's pretty good. How about you?
I am doing great. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Oh, I feel the same way about talking to you. I'm always glad to hear when people are feeling great. That's awesome.
I'm not sure how you wanna begin this. Do you want to start with some questions? Do you want me to kind of just like jump in and talk?
It's totally up to you. I can if you wanna chit chat. If you're like help me ease into it, I can always help with that. Or I'm happy to just sit back and you can just start dropping bombs on me. It's up to you.
Gotcha. Well, I feel like I kind of have a maybe not super unique, but kind of unique story about my life. Had 3 different dads, and I think everything kind of wrapped itself up in a neat little bow after a while in my life. So I was one of the babies that popped out a different color in the delivery room.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay.
So my mom is white, and she was married to a white man, and I popped out not white in the delivery room. So I'm half black, half white. It turns out that I was actually the daughter of my mom's husband's best friend.
That's drama.
So, yeah.
That's drama for real.
Crazy thing about it is, my mom's husband, he didn't, not that he didn't care, but he didn't sit there and say, like, I'm done with you. That's not my baby. He said, you're my wife. And, I understand this happened, but, for better or for worse, we're in this. And I want to be a dad. And, I've been with you these 9 months, and I don't care that she's a different color. I want to be her dad. And, he bought all in, and his best friend and him had a conversation, and they kind of agreed that he was going to be the dad, and my biological dad was just going to be uncle.
Wow.
So he was just, yeah. And it's crazy that, first of all, my mom's husband did that. And second of all, that my mom's husband's mom also was like, yeah, we don't care. We still love her. Not her fault. Not her fault she was born this way.
Did your bio dad and mom's husband, I already promise you, by the way, I'm going to mess up the phrasing on this 100 times. Did bio dad and mom's...
It's hard being anonymous and not being able to like put names.
It would help so much. More than any other episode we've ever done, man, would it help. Although maybe that live one where there were 3 weirdos from Detroit on the line at the same time.
Maybe we say things like, if I could say like, maybe like dad, daddy, and father, like maybe we do it that way, or maybe
that's
like
so much more confusing to my people brain.
Dad, yeah. So maybe like just refer to them as like dad 1, dad 2, and dad 3.
Okay.
But without giving too much away, dad 1 is not going to be biological dad. So, I guess we'll kind of try to stick in order of
sure.
The assignment, the title, who had the title of father. So dad 1 being my mom's, husband 1.
Uh-huh.
So what was your question about them?
Andrea just typed, so dad 1 is actually dad 2, which Andrea, that's not making it easier. That's making it harder. I got it. So the man who raised you is the guy who was married to your mom who said, I want in.
For the first couple years of my life, yeah.
Okay.
You were asking a question about
well, I was going to ask
the husband and his best friend.
Did they remain friends, or was there? I mean, there must have been some strain on the friendship after that. They remained friends. So everybody was cool.
Uncle. Yeah, I mean, they came to an agreement. To hear my mom tell it. It was the 80s. Everybody was sleeping with everyone back then. And so it was kind of like, I guess maybe he kind of knew that they had a thing for each other, and he just didn't care. He loved her, and he wanted to be a dad, and he was just like, I've already bought it. I'm already in it. I'm in it to win it, and I'm all in. And so him and his best friend just came to an agreement, and my biological dad, he kind of was just like, yeah, dude, that's totally my bad. If you want to be the dad, like I've already done you wrong one way. I'm not going to stand in the way anymore. If you want this, and if you want to stay with your wife, and if you want to be the dad, then I will step aside. And they amicably decided on that arrangement. And so I guess I could just use initials. So my mom's husband, initial D, my biological dad, initial M. So his best friend was basically my biological dad. And me, for the first few years of growing up, he was Uncle M.
Uncle M.
Like, I had no idea. I was just like, oh yeah, my dad is D, and
so
that's just Uncle M.
You're living
with best friends with my dad.
You're living with your mom and D. Do you know, was Uncle M contributing like child support or finances at all, or was it nope?
I'm not sure how that, because to be honest, shortly after, I think even before I was even 1 year old, my mom divorced D and kind of left me with him. So my mom kind of moved on to second husband.
Wait, your mom left you with
who wasn't
D?
my biological dad. Mm-hmm.
So D was raising you. Mom steps away?
Mm-hmm.
So wow. So
so she cheated on him with his best friend, and then dude still stepped up and was like, hey, I don't care. I'm still going to love this girl like she is my own, and treated me 100% like I was his own. And they were divorced very shortly after, and she was already running off to another dude. And they kind of had like my mom would get me on weekends, but he basically took care of me. Him and his mom and his mom's mom. So D and D's mom, who was the woman I called grandma, and her mom. So 3 generations of people that nobody would have faulted them in the delivery room to be like, hey, like that's not his daughter. Like you cheated on him, and that's not, like, they had no like obligation other than the quote unquote sanctity or legal bindings of marriage or whatever. But 3 generations of people in 1989, which is when I was born, stepped up and said, we don't care. It's not that little girl's fault that she was born like this. That little girl deserves to be loved. And we're not going to make her suffer because of whatever's going on between these people who weren't ready to have kids.
Now, I want to say, I just want to be full disclosure on this. I am certain that whenever you tell people this story, a lot of people's instinct is to start assigning hero status to some of the adults and villain status to some of the adults. And I want to do my best in the course of our conversation to take a deep breath and not boil it down to like who's a hero, who's a villain, who did good, who did bad. I want to take away the value judgments and just kind of hear the story, because I bet that's where everybody's brain scrambles to.
Yeah, for sure. It does get like that. And there are bad decisions that were made. You know, it's not necessarily hero, but these people were definitely heroes. Doesn't mean that the other were villains. It just means that, you know, my mom got pregnant with me when she was 19. She turned 20, 25 days before I was born.
Yeah, I mean,
and she ran away from home at 16, and she actually found out that she was actually a year younger than she thought she was, because her parents were really neglectful. Wow. So she thought her whole life that she was born in 1968. She didn't find out until she was like late 30s, almost 40s, I think, that when she actually found like historical, like actual documents. Like her parents basically couldn't remember when she was born. So she's actually had me when she was 20. She thought she was 21 when she had me.
This is, I'm sure you're aware, this is a wild story about how you came into existence.
Yeah, and so I wanted to kind of give that because I know starting off the story like this, kind of like you said, we don't want to assign villain blame or anything. Like,
Yeah.
if I look at what I was doing at age 19, 20, who's to say I would have done any better? I mean, you hope.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Now, you mentioned that Dee, who is Dee and multiple generations of Dee's family, stepped up, gave you a safety net, and there's warmth that comes with hearing that. You sit there, you go, okay, people protected this baby. People looked at this baby and said, what's the best circumstance for this kid to be in? We got this. And it sounds like on some level that was probably, look, sure, it was the 80s, and I'm sure everybody was partying, and it sounds like your mom was an actual kid. But also sounds like Dee and his family wove this safety net for you, and that's a really beautiful thing. But you did also mention before that Dee only raised you for the first few years.
Especially, like you said, it was the 80s. A lot of people weren't as evolved as that. Like, people today still have to see a kid pop out black when you're expecting a little white baby. That's the way that they just said, we don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
that kid deserves to be loved.
That could have gone in so many different directions for sure.
Yeah.
But now you mentioned Dee was only around for a few years, though. So there's even more to this story.
Yes. So my mom got with her second, who ended up being her second husband. His initial is W. So there was split custody going on. Dee got remarried, ended up having a biological daughter with his second wife. And things got kind of abusive over there.
With Dee's family?
So my mom is with W, and Dee is with his second wife, and the court has to step in because there's verbal and physical abuse happening. So Dee ends up in a terrible situation where he finds out that his wife is abusing me, but he also has a biological daughter now. And the court basically rules that his wife is not allowed to be around me. Now, he can still see me, but he can only visit me on the weekends, and he cannot bring me around his wife, which is, I feel like, a very weird ruling in general. But he stuck to that for a while, and then it just became... I can imagine how hard it would have been for him to have a biological daughter with this woman. And some people at the time looked at it as he was abandoning me when he decided, hey, I'm going to give full custody to her mom. But I look at it as I got 4.5 years. This man that stood up and took care of me, and 4.5 years that he didn't have to be the dad that he was to me. And it's not worth sacrificing the safety of the relationship and safety of his biological child.
This is...
You can look at it multiple ways.
Oh my goodness, can you? And I also just have to say, for you to even offer that much grace and that much breathing room and that much understanding reflects really well on you, because I'm not trying to skip to the end of the story, but I'll say just out of the gate, you had an early childhood where no one would blame you for not being able to summon that level of compassion for him. It sounds like every adult in your life was put in a position where they had to choose their relationship with you and consistently made choices that left you on the outside looking in, which nobody would ever blame you for being. I would have to imagine that you've talked to therapists and that you've sorted this all out. But a lot of people would say, how could you even hear that he remarried and then his new wife started coming at you and he had to make that choice? For you to sit here and go, I could see how this was a choice that it was not worth, however you phrased it, burning the bridge with his new biological kids. Holy shit, your ability to even grant that grace. Wow.
Yeah, and that comes from a place of me, like, if you look at the agreement that he made with his best friend, M, who was my biological dad, that I didn't get a relationship with because he was Uncle M, and then when my mom and Dee divorced, he was kind of just like out of the picture. Like I didn't really. So when my mom and Dee divorced, I didn't really see my biological dad ever again. I didn't know he was my biological dad, but I was just like, well, Uncle M's just gone, I guess. Like I don't know. So looking back at it, it's kind of like, oh, sorry, I stepped outside to have a cigarette, and now it's windy, so I'm sorry if there's some wind happening.
Hey, if any
back inside right now.
I would imagine talking to this, you might need to take a couple drags on a cigarette just to stay chill.
Yes, I have. I have a lot of ADHD, so trying to like stay on task and stay focused with this is like my parents always make fun of me because like I walk around when I'm on the phone. I have to walk around and talk. But so just me knowing now and looking back at not having a relationship with my biological father, and as much as I appreciate, the relationship I had with Dee. Now, as far as people choosing me, like you said, so Dee's mom, the woman who said, I don't care, that's my granddaughter. She, whenever Dee gave custody up to my mom and my mom's second husband, W, she was very upset. She actually didn't talk to her own son for a year after that because she was so upset because she felt like he abandoned me. And it's one thing to sit there in the delivery room that day and say, I don't care. We all agree that's our daughter, granddaughter, great-granddaughter, whatever. It's another thing to care so much about me that you don't talk to your own son for a year because you don't want to see that kid go through being like abandoned. And she was still in my life, but she didn't talk to her own son for a year. And I didn't find that out until a couple of years ago. I don't want to skip too much in the future, but
so who'd you
wind
wind
a
up,
little bit more of that.
Yeah, who'd you wind up living with?
Well, so after my mom and Dee, and then the whole situation with that, I was with my mom and her second husband, W. And so that's when my mom got pregnant with my brother, C. And so my mom's second husband was also white. So I'm half black, half white. And I'm like 4. And my mom has another kid with a white man. And my brother now has blonde hair, blue eyes. And this whole time I'm just surrounded by, Caucasian family. And I'm being told that Dee was my dad. Like, I was told Dee was my dad. I was like, why am I brown? And Dee, the sweetheart he was, when I asked him, he's just like, sometimes people look different from their parents. Sometimes, parents will have blue eyes, but their kids will have brown eyes, and things will look different. And so I was just like, oh, I guess I'm just tan. Cool. Like, it, kind of spoiler alert, I don't think I found out that I was actually half Black until I was like 13. I thought maybe I was like Hispanic or adopted, or like my mom wasn't really even my real mom. I didn't really know. But so kind of cutting into a little bit, fast forwarding, my mom ended up having 3 kids with 3 boys with W. 2 of them have blonde hair, blue eyes. The youngest one has brown hair, brown eyes, but is still white. And my mom calls us the bookends because I'm the oldest, he's the youngest. We both have brown hair and brown eyes, and we're both the most alike. So we're the bookends because we are on the edges.
And you grew up after that point largely with your mom and W and these 3 half brothers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So sadly, W, my mom also, she's on W with his best friend, and there was a bit of back and forth with that, which led to W being angry, and so there was also abuse happening there. So at age 15,
come on, I'm really trying to reserve judgment and not villainize anyone in this story, but Mom, come on.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, she ran away from home at 16. Her parents were hoarders and neglected.
It all rolled downhill, and you're granting a lot of grace, and I get it.
There was a lot of things that I'm not. There's a lot of things that I'm not going to divulge, even though it's anonymous and there's no information about her. I'm not going to divulge about the struggles that she went through in that household.
You are an incredible person.
I guess the main thing that I look at is that she spent most of her forming years like surviving, like figuring out, okay, what can I do to, like, when other parents would be like, oh, where are your parents? And she really was just like staying under an underpass, like an overpass, like at age 16, ran away from home, still going to school and like crashing at other people's houses. Like, she's having to lie and say, oh, my parents are here. And she's kind of just having, so she kind of just learned that she had to kind of grift her way into survival. And I think never really learned how to, but basically she kind of stayed in situations until she felt like she had another stepping stone out of it. So,
and look, I feel for you. I feel empathy. I feel compassion, and I feel blown away by you, because your ability to step in as soon as I start to boil over and be like, take a deep breath. Here's some background. I'm not even going to get into all of it, but look, there's some stuff that was going on. I go, if there's one person on earth who doesn't owe her that, it's you. It's the kid who had the chaotic life. So for you to be able to do that.
Yeah, but I owe it to myself. That's the thing.
What an awesome thing you just said. I was just going to say, it's also so clear that your ability to do that does serve you and gives you some control over this dialogue and this narrative and this story you've walked. And it's badass. And it's eye-opening to just experience this in real time, because you're the last person who owes any of these adults the level of understanding that you're demonstrating. But it's also clear it's what makes it your story and not their story. It's what makes you the captain of the ship and not just a victim of other people's, for whatever justification, chaotic choices. And I think that's putting it lightly, that there's a lot of chaotic choices made throughout your childhood, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah. And there's, once we get to my adult, like, there's chaotic choices I made as well because of the things that I went through. And I could sit there and be like, well, they put me through this and this is why I'm like this. But then I have to give them that same kind of grace. And the only reason, not the only reason, but, I really appreciate your affirmations about it, but it's just something where, like, I had to confront a lot of it because I spent a lot of time running away from it.
Yeah.
And just being like, yeah, poor pitiful me, like everybody sucks. Like, you know, and it's one of those things, like, now you can laugh about it because it's all out in the open, but it is still crazy enough to where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to call Beautiful Anonymous. And like,
There you go. We got a home. Let's pause right there. So I think if there's anything that reminds the advertisers out there that we are still a relevant show, it's that callers still know they can pick up the phone and connect with us when it's time to have a real human conversation. So, caller, thank you for allowing me to do that very blatant segue into capitalism. We'll be right back. Thanks to our advertisers who help the show exist. Now let's get back to the phone call.
you know, and it's one of those things, like, now you can laugh about it because it's all out in the open, but it is still crazy enough to where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to call Beautiful Anonymous and, like, you know, share my, like, Hallmark Lifetime TV show, like, think about it. So yeah, at age 15, after multiple calls to CPS, they finally decided to, like, kind of step in, and that kind of, it's like me and my three brothers, and, you know, they stepped in, took us out the house for a couple months, put us back in, and then, you know, things changed a little. I mean, but basically, I was very involved in school, and so I was, I don't think we have time to get into all of the parentification and the raising my brothers and everything like that, but just cutting to, because I really want to get to mainly the story about the three dads here. I moved out, and I was very, very sheltered and, like, taking care of my brothers, and I wasn't allowed to go do anything. Like, I didn't really get to hang out with other kids. It was just, I threw myself into every extracurricular. It's like, I need to be in choir, dance, everything, so I can just find ways to be outside of the house and not have to be, you know, raising my brothers while, you know, dealing with abuse and everything. And so when I did turn 18 and moved out, I had been working, saved up enough money to get my own apartment, turned 18 a couple months after I graduated high school, and then 2 months later, after I turned 18, got my first apartment, and it was out of there. And of course, as one does, immediately it was like, hey, everyone I wasn't allowed to hang out with in high school, I got my own place, coming over. And they're like, oh yeah, hey, this kid that we didn't really get to hang out with outside of school has a place for us to all go do shit. And then so definitely got into drugs, alcohol, partying, all that stuff. So moved out of my parents' house in October of 2007. December 2009, get arrested for possession. And then in 2010, get convicted of it, and then had to move back in with the parents because I wasn't doing so great. Spent all my money and all that stuff. So at that time, my mom and my mom is finally, the whole point about the arrest, sorry, I'm losing myself here. The whole point about the arrest, turns out my biological dad, Kim, is a police officer. I'm finding this out. He's a police officer, and when I got arrested and I'm on probation, and my mom was like, hey, you know, let's reach out to M, see. And I'm like, oh, so we're finally going to admit that M is my dad. Because I think I was about 13 when I started, like, my mom wouldn't be at the house. I started digging through photos in her closet and just trying to find out, like, who the F is my dad? What am I? Like, am I black? Am I, like, I see pictures of Uncle M, and I'm like, I look a lot like Uncle M over here. Holy crap. Started putting things together. I'm like, okay, Uncle Dad. Okay. So cut to, 19, about to be 20, on probation. My mom gives me a ride to the probation for probation officer for my meeting. I come out of my meeting, see my mom standing in the parking lot waiting for me, talking to a guy that looks a lot like the guy from the pictures. I'm like, is that Uncle M? Is that Uncle Dad? Walk out. She's like, oh yeah, this is you. I was like, oh, hi. Like I basically I met my biological dad as my biological dad and not Uncle M for the first time, walking out of the probation office while he's a cop in the warrant division.
This is
Yeah,
amazing.
he's a cop in the warrant division who's waiting for people who have violated. So if I had come in and like failed my drug test, or like he could have been the one to have to like arrest me and take me if I had violated. Like he's on the warrant team. So my mom's standing out there talking to him, and I'm like, "Oh hi, I'm your felon daughter. Nice to officially re-meet you." And so, like I said about my mom and the stepping stones, so now she's still unhappy with W and reconnecting with M now because I got arrested. So they start talking, and I find out that M has 2 daughters with his wife. So I find out I have 2 sisters. My sisters are half black, half Hispanic. I'm half black, half white. And all 3 of my brothers are all white. But I'm the oldest of 6, apparently now. I found out I had 2 sisters. And my mom and my biological dad start talking and rekindling. And so my mom ends up divorcing W. Getting together with M.
She gets back together with M?
Yeah. I mean, and officially they were never together before. They just hooked up.
It was a fling.
But she divorced.
Does he divorce his wife?
She divorced W. He divorced his wife.
What?
They got together when I was like 21. Right after my 30th birthday, they got married. So now my biological mom and my biological dad. Yeah, now my biological mom and my biological dad are married.
This is the most fucked up series of events I've ever heard a childhood go through. This, and you knew it. You knew it was a slow burn that would hit a tipping point. And I don't know where else this is going to go, but we are at the tipping point. What are you fucking talking about? What?
And when they first started talking after I got arrested and everything, I was just like, oh, now you want to reach out to him now that I'm like arrested? Like, and it was like a really weird time for me because as much issues that I had with W, with all the CPS, like everything going on, I also did not really appreciate the conversation, like the sneaking around that was going on with my mom and my biological dad. And I was like, here we are, right back where we fucking started. Like, it's just like, you're not going to do to me, do to my brothers what you do. Like, my 3 little brothers, it's like, I might not really appreciate their dad, and they might not really appreciate their dad, but I'm not going to have you cheat on their dad like you did your husband have me. Like, you're not going to cheat on him again with him. And so, like, I had a lot of resentment towards my biological dad. Like, where the fuck you been, bro? Where the fuck you been, Mr. Police Officer? Like, you just bowed out from day one. We're like, yeah, that's my bad. Y'all can have her. And then he just was like, I mean, I respect him making the deal with his friend and being Uncle M. But then after that, it's like... But he also never had told his wife that I existed. So my sisters didn't know I existed. His wife didn't know I existed.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
even before divorce was an option, he had to tell his wife, hey, so I have a daughter. He told my sisters, you have a sister. Then eventually they got divorced. So they got together. Then in 2019... after my 30th birthday, because I was born in 1989, my biological parents are now married. So imagine, yeah, they're still together.
This is so fucked up.
They've been together since.
How are you able to even complete like functioning sentences? The level of the amount of times that your parental units have just gone out of their way seemingly to mentally put roadblocks in front of you personally. I don't even know how you get out of bed in the morning.
It's a struggle. You know the meme from It's Always Sunny with with Charlie Day and the whole serial killer red string kind of thing behind him.
Sure.
And him just being like, oh, okay, well, that's me trying to explain this. So I'm actually, I'm gonna stop and give myself some props because I have like crippling ADHD and I like tend to. It's like I feel like I've actually kind of laid this out way more structured than I really thought I was going to be able to when I was on hold waiting for this call.
You've made it all clear. I'm not going to say it makes sense, but who could make sense of this? But I'll say you've made it all very clear. This is one of the wildest things I've ever heard, legitimately. This is... because
to go back to Dee's mom.
Dee's mom,
her
yes.
initial is S. So
your original grandma?
Yeah, the original grandma. Throughout this entire time, she has been the one constant in my life.
God damn, what a lady.
Throughout D, throughout W, throughout M, she has been my grandma. And it was like once a month, she would get me for a weekend. Every summer, she'd get me for a whole week. To this day, she is my best friend. We have lunch every week. That is my grandma. And I don't care anything. To this day. And so when I was telling you, she said she didn't talk to her son for a whole year. I found that out like 2 years ago. I was like, what do you mean you didn't talk to him for a whole year? She's like, because he should have been there for you. And I was like, well, Grandma, he was there for me for you've been here for me for 30 something years. Like, he was there for me for like more than most people would have. Have you ever said to her, like, you were the rock? Like, you've made mistakes, you've had ups, you've had downs, but like, you're the reason that I at least have a head on my shoulders? She knows. She is the only reason I think I even knew what being a good person really looked like. Not that everybody else wasn't genuinely good people, but the way that I was kind of treated and the way it was just kind of, I was, when it came to my mom and W, I kind of felt like Cinderella for a bit, and my brothers were, my mom really struggled a lot with like depression and mental health and stuff. So she spent a lot of time in her room. And, we were all in an abusive household as well. So it was kind of, I raised my brothers and I kind of was just like, hey, do this, do that, do this, do that. Or like this, I had a nickname. So let's say if my name was, I can't even think of a name that's not mine to do nicknames. Let's say if my name was Samantha, then if my nickname growing up was Sammy, just hearing Sammy is just like, from a certain point in my life, it's just like, it's always Sammy, 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 Sammy.
Yeah.
And I just like, it's Samantha. I am Samantha.
Yeah.
Nobody's allowed to call me Sammy because Sammy, and obviously that's not my name, but that's the example.
Yeah.
But the only person that is allowed to call me the equivalent of Sammy is my grandma.
Grandma.
Yes.
Grandma, there you go. I have to ask too.
Yep, I'm actually having lunch with her tomorrow. She's
Good.
83, and
what a hero. That's the hero
spend
of
as
the
much
story.
time with her as I possibly can.
There's the heroic
We have lunch
adult.
every week.
You're the protagonist of the story, and if there's one person who it sounds like stepped up consistently, Grandma. Now, I have to ask too. There's another aspect of this. I've read enough. I've talked to people on this show who are biracial or from racially mixed families in the States in particular. I think that I've had people tell me, and I've read up a lot, that sometimes people biracially feel like they are put in a position where not black enough to be embraced by the black community, not white enough to be embraced by the white community, floating between worlds with their own families.
100%.
So you've got that.
And not even just like being able to like say, like, me and my brother C, my oldest like young sibling, the second of us 6, we went to the same elementary school, and I'm like, yeah, that's my brother. They're like, no, it's not. Yeah. Like, even just that. But also, yes, too white for the black kids, too black for the white kids. But like I said, I didn't even know I was black for sure until
I was going to say
13.
It's one of the most extreme examples of it I've heard, because you had information kept from you about your background and you're othered due to your appearance, but without any explanation. And then you've got half sisters who are half black, half Hispanic living. I would have to imagine that there's a lot of studies done, and I'm not speaking from authority on this, but I would have to imagine that kids who have access to both cultures probably are able to navigate the difference in cultures better than kids who only have access to one culture via one parent. And then you have your little brothers who are white, and then
they grew up in both of those cultures. Like, my sisters speak Spanish, but they also like are fully ingrained in their black culture. I had a very weird experience in middle school where I was like, oh, I'm black. I'm gonna start seeing what's up. And I really hope that we can edit this out if it's something, but this is just like my completely ignorant and just embarrassing experience, realizing like, okay, I'm black. I want to try to connect with some of that culture. I was very, like I said, ingrained in school. Like, I did every extracurricular. I was in AP classes. Like, I was just trying to like throw myself into my studies and homework and everything. And once I realized, I was like, okay, I want to start trying to connect. So I'm like, okay, in class, I still need to do class, but on the bus, I can try to connect with my culture. So I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, where's my culture at? Oh, in the back of the bus, where everything is like, that's where all the fun is happening. That's where all the culture is. Like, that's where I'm going to go. And I literally, like, God, this is so embarrassing. I literally was just like, hey, so why do we want to hang out back here? I thought we fought really hard not to have to sit back here. And it was just, I did not understand. I was just like, I didn't understand the concept of like, we take it back, or I didn't even think about like, we hang out back here because that way we're not up by the bus driver. I was used to being like, I want to read my Harry Potter book, so I'm going to sit up here. Like, it's quiet up here, and it's also practical for me to get on and off the bus really quickly. But everybody's having fun back there. But why is this the place to have fun? Like, it's really bumpy back here. I thought we fought really hard not to be back here. And they're all looking at me like, what's wrong with this girl? Like, it's embarrassing looking back at it.
I get it, though. I do get it of, hey, I just found out this massive piece of my identity, and now I'm going to try to dive in this way that's kind of just totally into the deep end without any context, without any elders guiding me, without any link to culture outside of just being a kid trying to experiment it. I'm sure through diving into interactions and also picking things up from pop culture and TV and cobbling it together. And then meanwhile, there's this other weird aspect of it where you spend your whole childhood feeling like the other, feeling like the odd one out. And then your bio parents get back. Well, then your bio parents get back together where now there's a household unit where you're the only kid that quote unquote makes sense. Right. But I'm not saying that value judgment. I'm just saying in terms of now. And now you've got these 3 little white brothers who have a black stepdad. You've got these half sisters you didn't know about who have a white stepmom. And you're the only one who is in the Venn diagram of those people. But also I feel like you must be so protective of them because you understand what it is to be othered due to the combination of parental units, and now you're watching 5 half siblings get dragged into a situation that sounds like it was pretty traumatic for you. Let's pause here because I think everybody probably needs a pause. Take a breath. I think this is around the stretch we're all realizing, man, it just never stopped. The chaos and the tumultuous nature of things, it just never stopped with her. Oh my goodness. So everybody take a breath. We're going to hear more from her, one of my favorite callers of all time, when we get back. Oh boy, so happy to tell you about Boll and Branch. Legit, really coming into play. I have had 2 nights in a row of absolutely incredible sleep, and that's rare for me to say. And this is because my Boll and Branch sheets and Boll and Branch waffle blanket are on the bed at the same time. And I managed to get that waffle blanket and those sheets right at the edge of my shoulder, exactly where I want them. And I never sleep better than with that combo of events. Thank you, Boll and Branch. And I'm sleep hygiene. This phrase is not a buzzword to me. This is a thing I care about. It's hard to improve your sleep. When you struggle with sleep, it mounts, right? People are out here getting gadgets and noise machines and new mattresses and apps and taking supplements. All these things add up. They get expensive. It's complicated. What if you don't need all that stuff? Maybe the fastest, simplest way to upgrade your sleep is replacing your sheets. Boll and Branch's signature sheets are made from the finest 100% organic cotton and instantly make your bed feel more comfortable, breathable, and inviting. It's a one-time upgrade that pays off every single night. There's no setup. There's no habit building, no guesswork. Just noticeably better sleep because you've got high-quality stuff waiting for you on that bed. These sheets are buttery soft from the start, and it's wild. Every time you wash them, they actually get softer, super relaxing. The moment I lie down, I find myself relaxing more, and I find that really incredible. I can't say it enough times. Boll and Branch products are a game changer. They help people like me, the restless sleepers out there, settle in, feel good about where you're at. And the waffle blanket in particular, I don't understand. Because in the winter, it was everything I needed. In the summer, it breathes. Right now we're in the spring, and it's the perfect transition blanket. I actually don't understand scientifically how it does so many different things. It's really great. Really great products, honestly. Upgrade your sleep during Boll and Branch's annual spring event. Take off 20% site-wide, plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com/beautiful with code BEAUTIFUL. That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/beautiful. Code BEAUTIFUL to unlock 20% off. Exclusions apply. See site for details. Thanks to our advertisers who have helped this show exist for a decade. Now let's finish off the phone call. You understand what it is to be othered due to the combination of parental units, and now you're watching 5 half siblings get dragged into a situation that sounds like it was pretty traumatic for you.
Yeah, it's my youngest brother, my bookend. For a long time, it was like, oh, you were like 2 when we went through the CPS. Like, you don't remember the hard times. It's like, to me, I'm like, oh, I have to used to live with W uphill both ways. And it's like, it took me a while to realize I'm not looking at the fact that he's the one who spent most of his childhood from a broken home out of all of us.
Right.
Having to go, like, I'm like, oh, me and C used to have to live with W uphill both ways and blah, blah, blah. But we never had to live in a house alone with W and a house alone with Mom.
You must feel so protective of all your half siblings, I would imagine.
I really do. My sisters, it's a little different because we didn't meet until I was like 21.
Yeah.
And they kind of have their own thing going on, and they're very close-knit and tight. And, you know, the other thing is, like, realizing I have 2 sisters after growing up with 3 brothers, and then never really connecting with those sisters because the culture is very different.
There's a whole other thing. There's probably every kid grows up wishing they had, you know, I grew up with a brother, and definitely there were times where I was like, oh, I wish I had a sister. And then you're here and you find out you did, and you just had no access to them. And that's a whole other side of thing. We've talked about sense of racial othering or racial wandering between worlds, but then to also find out, oh, I also had sisters who could have offered camaraderie, who could have offered support during this tumultuous life, and I had no access to them.
Yeah.
This is, God damn, this is a wild one.
Yeah. Didn't even really know, like, didn't even know that I was Black, and then found pictures of him, and even after that, it was still like, no, D's your dad, D's your dad. And so it wasn't until I got arrested that it was like, okay, so you got me. M's your dad. He's a cop. Let's see what we can talk to him about processes for how we deal with this. And
what a weird reason. What you like, must sit and dwell on that. That's when we get to openly talk about this, when it might help keep me out of jail. That's when we're actually going to start being honest about all this.
Also, all of that stuff that happened, like if I never got arrested, who knows if I would have even met my bio dad, and who knows if they would be married. Like, me getting arrested is why they reconnected. At like the lowest point of my life.
God. Oh my goodness. I need to know how you're doing right now. I need to know, are you on your feet? Is there still issues with the law? Have you gone to school? Are you working? Where are you at? Because I'm rooting for you so hard.
After that, I worked 15 years straight. Retail. I was at 5 years for a retail shoe company, and then 10 years for another retail shoe company. It's been a rough couple years. I did get married last year.
Okay, congrats.
Just to kind of, not to skip over a lot of stuff, but with all of the healing that I've had to do, there was a long time where I did not talk to W at all. I was just like, I want nothing to do with my abuser from my childhood. And it got to a point where I realized, like, sometimes my phone would ring and I'm looking at the phone and seeing it's W, and I'm sitting there like, I'm not going to ignore it because they don't know I ignored it, and I'm not going to answer it because I don't want to talk to them. And then I realized, like, I'm treating him like Voldemort, like say Voldemort. Like, it's the fear of the name increases fear of the thing itself. And I had to, like, confront it. And I also realized that my brothers are still living with this dude. Like, W's calling to try to get me to come to Christmas. And what happens when I don't show up? What happens when I don't answer the phone? He's in a bad mood, and now my brothers are having a shitty Christmas, and I've, like, left them alone with him. So I started coming back around and interacting, and actually had a lot of really healing stuff with that. And so cut to when I got married last year, both M and W side by side walked me down the aisle.
Whoa. Was D invited?
D passed away in 2021 from cancer, actually.
Okay, so that messes your head up too, I'm sure.
There was a picture, but I actually didn't see D. So I didn't see, after I was like 4.5 when custody changed over, I didn't see D again for pretty much my entire childhood. After I graduated high school, I was working at a restaurant and was just waiting on a table, and then, waiting on a couple. And then as I went to bring them their check, they, went to go hand me the check to say, hey, keep the change. And the man says, I know, you don't recognize me. I'm not even sure if you remember me, but D. And I broke down crying in the middle of the restaurant. So he came to surprise me, and he tipped me $500 as a graduation present to just tell me, I love you. I never stopped thinking about you, and I miss you. So he had gotten remarried to another. So he was away from second wife. So he had gotten remarried to a third wife, and he showed up at my job to surprise me, and I just broke down crying, like bawling. And then after that, we still didn't really have I still talk to my grandma all the time and everything, but I didn't really have a relationship with D. I would run into him sometimes when my grandma was, and I would see my grandma and stuff, but we didn't really rebuild that relationship And then he passed away. But now my grandma is living with his third wife. So now I have a really good relationship with the woman that he was married to when he came to see me after my graduation and stuff. My grandma lives with her, and it's been my family tree is a very hard one to explain, but hopefully you got the gist of it here.
Oh my goodness. I mean, what a story. And again, so it sounds like you're married. Are you feeling stable? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling like you've been able to set up the parameters the way you're choosing in your life and not at the whims and desires of all these adults after all these years?
With everything that I've learned, and after getting out of retail, I've been kind of taking the time to reassess like what I want to do. And I really, really, really want to help kids that are in the system or help kids that are dealing with neurodivergence. So I have ADHD. My bookend has ADHD, and my two middle brothers are both diagnosed autistic as well. So we're all diagnosed neurodivergent. And my two middle brothers have autism, and I really want to work with kids on the spectrum. But because of my arrest, even though it happened I was convicted in 2010 and it's 2026, I was actually hired recently to work for a center that as a registered behavioral technician to help kids with autism learn how to, live their lives and like help with behavioral therapy. And I passed the original background check, but then like literally the day I was supposed to start, like my first day, they were like, hey, so we're canceling your first day. We need more information from you about your felony. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it was. Like, we need all of your court documents and a personal statement. So I'm in Houston, and back in 2017, we had Hurricane Harvey, and all of my court documents were ruined. So I had to go tracked all those down, and wrote my personal statement, sent it in, and then they came back and they were just like, we're rescinding your offer of employment. With no further anything. So right now I'm in the process of just, all I want to do is just help. I just want to be the person that I didn't have besides my grandma. Like, I just want to help kids that are struggling with neurodivergence of any type, or help kids that are dealing with, coming from broken homes, or kids that are, at risk. Like, I just want to be there for the kids that were in any sort of situation that could compare to mine. Like, I just want to help them not end up where, like, with the same kind of record that's keeping me from being able to help them right now, and it's really hard, especially when, not to get too political, but especially when there's a president who has exponentially more felony, convictions than I do. Like, it's like, I just want to help kids, and instead somebody that has much worse things going on in their life is the one who dictates whether or not these people get funding. It's just,
it's horrible.
Right now looking into the licensing aspect of stuff.
I also have to say too, I have followed your lead on trying to have some empathy and compassion, and like you said, it's good for you to find forgiveness for all these adults. But one thing I'll say, just piecing together the puzzle pieces of what you laid out, is that it sounds like in high school you mentioned you were taking a bunch of AP classes. You were signing up for all sorts of activities. I'll just put this out here because it sounds like you've really learned how to not be angry. So just to get angry on your behalf, I sit here, I go, you're talking to me as just such a fucking smart, compassionate, cool person right now in 2026. You also are describing a kid who had so many reasons to not do things the right way, but you were still in the AP classes. You were still signing. You still had that college resume. I went to a public school where I know those AP kids who stacked their resume with activities, they all went to college. They could get into the state school at least, and usually even the private schools. And it does sound to me like that's the one fucking juncture in your life where all this shit really got in the way, was that getting out of high school and going,
like the
I need
CPS thing specifically.
Oh my goodness. The idea that CPS is involved and you're going, I want a fucking apartment. And you could have gone on to great shit, and now that exact era of life is still haunting you 16 years later. I'm begging anyone listening to this right now, who, I'm not claiming it's me, but if there's anybody listening to this right now, and I'm not saying you're going to be, you know, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. I'm saying it just sounds like you want a shot. But this idea that, like, hey, you feed information into a computer and a red flag comes up and there's no conversation. This is clearly a layered conversation where you have so much potential to help. And the exact era of life when most kids go to college, and which sounds like you were more than capable of doing that, your concern was find a safe place to fucking live at 18 years old. And that's been fucking up everything
also,
since. And I'm mad about that.
Right. I turned 16 during the whole CPS thing. And right around the time when, because it just kind of got to where, like, I was still being parentified and everything. So it just, nobody was paying attention to, like, even just if I could be someone who helps kids, like back in, I graduated high school 2007. There was, like, the high school counselor didn't pull me aside and say, like, hey, here's how you apply for colleges. It just kind of, like, I got to my senior year and I was like, okay, I just survived another day. And it's like, everybody else applied to colleges. Like, I didn't do, like, nobody helped me with that. Nobody explained it to, like, it just was like, all of a sudden you're about to graduate high school and nothing has been done about colleges. Like, I actually was a national merit award scholar.
Yeah, those kids go to college.
Which is a crazy thing. Yeah, and
but it's
I could have
crazy because you're smart and you got
scholarships. Could have got, like, I was awarded scholarships and stuff, but I never had time or got help in.
You had such bigger concerns. You had bigger,
figuring out how to, like, everything else was going on. Yeah,
you had bigger, more immediate concerns, and we're now living in this world where everything's just.
So did all the adults in my life.
There
had
you
bigger,
go.
More immediate concerns.
Yeah, and sadly, none of those concerns rolled down to you, and it fucking sucks. And I just also want to say, I have a huge problem with how much everything's becoming automated, computerized, algorithmic, and the idea that you could be hired for this job that you're excited about when you paid your dues, you bounced back, you're married now, you spent 15 years in retail selling shoes, and there's no shame in that. Hold your head up high, but you've got bigger dreams that are kind of bubbling back to life, and everything's algorithmic and computerized as far as a red flag comes up, and there's no nuance and no conversation where I would have to think there's a real argument to be made that the exact life experiences that lead to you having a felony on your record are the exact life experiences that are going to help you feel the empathy that might help a kid not go through the bullshit you went through. And instead we listen to fucking computers.
That's exactly what I put in my personal statement. And the thing is, not only I had already, like, made it past the background check stage. They had me go to a facility to get my fingerprints done. They gave me a corporate email. Like, I had my own email. Like, I was fully onboarded. I looked at the training stuff. I had already done my I-9, did my tax stuff. Like, I did all of the onboarding stuff, and it was literally like, today's the day to go in and start work. And then they were like, the higher ups want us to take a second look at this. So it was like, I had already been hired and done all of the hiring process. It was like 2 weeks of me going through all of the onboarding stuff that I just, like, now wasted my time. And I actually turned down other jobs in retail and stuff, like, not in what I really wanted to do, but I turned down other jobs. So I'm like, hey, and I told them, they're like, hey, we want to interview. I'm like, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I was really interested in working here. I was, however, just offered my dream job, and I, like, really appreciate the offer. Like, but this is really what I want to do with my life. Cut to a couple weeks later, it's like, psych. And then I'm like, oh, hey, y'all still want to offer me that job? And they're like, no, we gave it away. Like, great. So I just missed out on other jobs.
Our time is up, but I want to go a little long. The clock is up. I want to go a little long. The clock has hit 0, but I want to make sure we wrap up because I just need to say out loud.
Oh, yeah. We can definitely wrap up because I actually do have a job interview in 30 minutes.
Okay.
For
and we'll
a place that I'm not excited about working at, but a place
but you're a
like,
fucking survivor. And I just need to say, I have been so blown away by your story as a story. I've been inspired by you as far as someone who keeps figuring out how to put your head back on straight when everyone in your life has invited you to not have your head on straight. And hearing that you came that close to your dream job, as you put it, and they flagged it because there's no forward thinking, there's no imagination, there's no nuanced conversation. I don't remember the last time I've been this mad during a Beautiful Anonymous call. And I just need to say, and again, I'm somebody who's had so many advantages. You have faced so many more uphill climbs than I have, but I can just say so sincerely, you have put up with so much bullshit. You have so much to fucking offer. You have so much value. You have kept yourself safe. You have helped raise younger siblings and kept them safe. Your instincts that you are destined to help other people are totally on target and valid. And the idea that that's being yanked back, your dream job, I can't believe I'm ending as angry on your behalf as I am. I know that you're someone you got to mitigate the anger because there's so many reasons to have it that you got to mitigate it.
It comes out for sure.
I'm sure it does.
For sure.
I'm sure it does. And I hope it feels like a positive to hear me get angry on your behalf. But God, fucking.
It really does. It really does.
If anybody out
really
there
does.
is listening, I'm saying it for real. If you are a creative thinker and you work in some industry where you're going, I do that. We have so many social workers who listen to this show. If you're ever like, you know what? I'll take a chance. I'll take a chance on trying to put a motivated, smart survivor to work to help other people. If you're out there and you got that fucking opportunity, you get in touch with us and we'll make sure we make it happen. And again, I'm not saying, who knows? Who knows? I don't know you. They might turn around and go, well, you didn't know how to get the work done and this and that and this and that. But it sounds to me like all you've been asking for your whole fucking life is some stability and a shot. And I don't think you're asking for more than that.
And I just want to say, like, to close everything up, like, if you are someone who is in that type of industry that is hiring people that are supposed to be able to bring out the best in people, that are supposed to be able to help people who are struggling, help people, take a second to look at the people that you're hiring and show them the same empathy, compassion, and just overall job skills you're expecting that person to do. I mean, it's just how can you not look at someone's story and understand them and look and see their potential and see what they're capable of despite what they're being labeled as in a field like that. That's the whole job, is for me. Like, all I wanted to do was be able to let these kids know that they are not what society just labels them as. And they too are capable of great things.
As are you.
So if you are someone that is in that field, take a moment to look beyond what's on paper of the people that you are trying to hire, because that is what you're hiring them to do.
This was an incredible phone call. I feel super motivated by it. We're going to say goodbye to the people on the free feed. I know you've got a job interview. If we can do like a super quick round of the 5 questions, I would love it. But if you got to go and focus and get your head in the game for the job interview.
The job interview isn't for another 25 minutes. So I got time. And it's a virtual interview. So I don't have to drive anywhere.
All right.
We're good.
So goodbye to everybody on the free feed. Amazing phone call. Thanks so much for listening. Caller, thank you sincerely so much for sharing that story. I know it can't be easy. I know it's vulnerable. You also mentioned your ADHD sometimes makes things get in the way, but wow, you laid that one out in a fashion that blew my mind. A beautiful call with a beautiful caller, and you have put up with so much, and you are poised to do so many great things, and you are still at the beginning of life. And I really can't wait to see what you pull off in life, because there's so many junctures at which you could have thrown your hands up and just given up, and you have chosen not to. I am impressed by that. Thank you so much. Thank you to the High Priestess of Beautiful Anonymous, Andrea Quinn, for producing the show. Thank you to our friend Shellshag for the music. You have been the audio sound of Beautiful Anonymous for 10 years now. What an amazing thing. Thank you to everyone who has listened and supported the show. Thank you to everybody who has helped make the show over the years. Don't forget, everybody, we're on Instagram at Beautiful Anonymous Pod. We got the Facebook group. We got the TikTok relaunching. Go check out my YouTube page because Beautiful Anonymous is starting to have a stronger presence there. We're trying to catch up with the modern times. And remember, everybody, the best thing you can do is let people know the show is out here. Let people know that the conversations are good, eye-opening, inspiring, puts you back in touch with the sense of humanity in a world where I think we're letting that slip. Let people know we exist. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you next time. This week on Beautiful Anonymous Plus, here's some of what you'll get from the 5 questions. What was the most complicated recipe you have ever cooked, and why?
If I could go a little abstract here, and I can say, might be a little weird to say, forgiveness.
The recipe of forgiveness.
Definitely the hardest combination, the hardest recipe for myself to figure out.
To compare forgiveness in your life to a complicated recipe is really valid and eye-opening. And also, 2 pinches of this, bring the water to boil, now let it simmer. That's a complicated thing for you, forgiveness. Let it simmer,
and that's when we have a well-rounded, healthy meal.
There you go. Look at that.
Part of a balanced breakfast.
Don't forget to sign up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com.